WCLN 1170 Radio and Cable Channel 16 are pleased to present We Should Know, hosted by J.W. Simmons, an upbeat, informative look at people, places, and issues facing our community. This education-based analysis of issues will remain positive and informative as we consider closely what we should know.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you for being with us today. We Should Know is on the air. My name is J.W. Simmons. I'm your host. It's our pleasure to be talking to the fire chief with the city of Clinton. And when I say the fire chief, Jordan Hill, you've stepped into the world of being the chief. You've got a interesting background, Carolina Beach Fire Department. You've got Wake Forest Fire Department, served as lieutenant, New Hanover County, training captain. It's just interesting when I look at your background. It's almost like it's a perfect situation to have somebody with your credentials here leading the fire department for the city of Clinton. You also have your associate degree. You're working on finishing up a bachelor's degree. And the associate degree I thought was interesting because it's in fire protection technology and emergency management. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, sir.
Okay.
And I appreciate all that. And yes, I've been able to accomplish a lot in my time, in my career. And I just recently, this December, 2022, graduated with my bachelor's degree. I'll be awarded it physically as far as the paper here very soon, and I'll be able to walk at Fayetteville State University this spring.
AFSU, one of the two oldest universities in North Carolina, I would say. So it's a great school, great college. My thought in kind of an intro way this morning to get folks to know you a little bit better. Not only do you have the work experience, but you have the community connectivity experience. When I look at some of the positions you've held, it pushes you into making sure that the community is related to fire service and understands that. And that's what I want to do this morning is get folks to kind of grasp where you see the leadership of this department going, some of the vision you have for the department and those kinds of things. Yeah.
So with that, and it kind of goes back to where I was looking at focusing for my degree stuff. Yes, I have the emergency management and the fire. It's kind of expected to have the fire stuff working in the fire service. Working when I was at New Hanover County, being there for nearly 8 years, we did a lot with emergency management. So the fire department does more than just run fire calls. We're kind of the end-all, be-all, all else fails call the fire department. We will find a way, or if we have those resources or no resources, especially with all the members working in a small town or a small community, they're going to know people who to call if I don't know who to call. So then that way we can make the connection happen to fix or mitigate any issues that we run into. So with that being said, the fire department generally in an emergency management aspect, when there's a storm or a flood or something like that goes on, we're a big workforce that's there, that's always there, whether that be a paid staff like we have 24 hours a day, or out in your community with all your volunteers that can respond and help out where they can in their respective communities and inside the county. So that's a big thing to kind of keep in mind as we do more than just the running fires. We do the rescue calls. Our guys here at Clinton, our first responders do some first responder calls, cardiac arrest and lift assist and things of that nature when we're requested by EMS. So there's a lot of things outside of just the general fire things that we can do for the community.
A lot of folks today in fire service are also dual certified as emergency medical technicians and those kinds of things. Is that something that we're continuing to lean on, or do you see some separation in that?
So I myself I'm an EMT basic. There's a lot of my members that are EMT basic. A lot of them are medical responders, and that's what we have it at the medical responder level for our department. We get our CPR cards every year, and that allows us to run those cardiac arrest calls with our AEDs and get there to help. You do see a lot of departments in bigger cities and bigger counties where their whole staff are EMTs and they're running first responder calls. They're going to your breathing difficulties, your diabetics, your people that are getting injured and traumatic injuries. So that's definitely something that our fire department can do, because our EMS service does get taxed, and they can get taxed very quickly on the amount of units to the amount of calls that they're having, because there's going to be more fire departments out there, more units that are out there than there are sometimes of those EMS units. So moving forward down the road, that could be something for us to continue to evaluate and expand upon. However, that means that I'm going to have more calls, more members that are going to be needed for training, continuing education for that, because a lot of those classes are a couple months long, and then we're going to have continuing education, recertification every couple of years to follow up with all of that. So there's definitely a lot of good outcomes for us to support that, but it takes a lot of support to continue it too. So, but we can definitely make a very positive impact and provide a lot of services for the community if we could continue or expand upon that side of the fire department.
Fire departments, as you just mentioned, is a huge part of public safety, and public safety in communities now represent that feeling that this is a way you can attract people to a community. They want to feel safe, whether it's with fire or whether it's criminal justice or whatever. When you decided your career move was you were going to reach out and say, I'm interested in this job, it's City of Clinton. What attracted you? Was there one specific thing that kind of attracted you to a small town like Clinton that obviously you could kind of go where you want to with your background, but what really pulled you here? Was it just the geography of it or what?
It's kind of a mix. So the geography of it, yes, was part of it. I'm from Knightdale, which is right outside of Raleigh. I was born and raised there. I was born in '86. So at that time, that area was still very small. Wake County was growing, but not what you see to what it is growing today. So my wife's from Roseville, right outside of Raleigh too. So we're both from a small town, small city area. Clinton definitely gives you that. Driving around the square, seeing it, definitely through the holidays, very beautiful small town area. We have a lot to offer here. With our local businesses and some of the bigger businesses that are here in town or in the area. There's a lot of members that work and live here, do things outside the fire department like you'd kind of expect, that they support their community in other ways, not just with the fire department. But you also look at it too, going back to part of your question, is people definitely want to have that complete community. So where you don't have to go far. You have your places to get your health care. We provide good fire services. You provide good police services, good services from any other area of the city. And then you also have your areas to shop and get anything that the members close by the city or in the city would need.
Now, when you mentioned your family, so you've got family here and children. Is your wife? Does she have a career path, or is she works from home as a mother, or what?
Right. So I have two kids, and my wife works from home. She works for Ferguson Enterprises, so she does a lot with them. She's been with them for a few years. Then I have family in Raleigh area still. And I have family that's in Wilmington area. So the geographic part of it is Clinton is, kind of halfway. I've worked alongside of many members that live or not far outside of Clinton area for a while, working at some of the various places that I've worked for. And from what they have told me and kind of what I have gotten the vibe of knowing Clinton and doing things around Clinton before, I have always kind of liked the area. So.
Well, it's interesting too that, and you mentioned this in your comment earlier, that we've got a lot of volunteer departments here, and from what I can understand, that's something that's probably not going to change not only for this county but for the country. Volunteers are departments that we're going to have to depend on. That requires a kind of a relationship issue. In connectivity, not only with your support of the volunteers, but the volunteers supporting you. Do you see that as a plus?
Yes, I definitely see it as a plus. A lot of the volunteer fire departments around in the county, we rely on each other. There's a lot of times where they know that we have 24-hour staff, and so we're always here. we can always come out and help. However, whenever we have something here in the city, we might not have enough staff members working a day to meet our needs on a call. So that's where we rely on them as helping us too, to make sure that we have enough people to provide the services that we need to be providing and mitigate any kind of issues in our area as much as we are going to them and helping them out too. Most of the fire departments across the U.S., over 70% of them are still volunteer. So, and it's kind of crazy to think in this day and that time that majority of the fire service is volunteer services. These members aren't getting paid for their services. Most of the time, they're having to buy the T-shirts to wear on their back to show the support of where they're coming from and share that pride. So there's a lot of things that they do, pretty much for the grace of their heart to help out, to give back to their community. We're just very thankful and lucky that the members that are helping out here in the city are doing it for a career and they're getting paid for it.
I think one of the things that's interesting in this conversation about employees and working and volunteerism and that kind of thing is the conversation that I want to have when we come back from break. And if you just a second here is this idea of recruiting and what demographic do you look at when you think about recruiting folks? And do you find that it is from your career at this point, do you find it is easier now recruiting folks, or is it hard to find people that's willing to step up and do the kind of job that you're doing? I want to kind of pose that question as, I guess, a lead in when we come back from break. But that's, to me, sounds as though something that would be tremendously important, because you're offering something that is a salaried job in the city of Clinton. And as you just pointed out, a lot of folks out of Anne County, if they didn't volunteer, the people in the county and the rural areas wouldn't have anybody. So let's kind of talk about that when we come back and get your observations on that.
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us. We're talking with the Fire Chief, City of Clinton, Jordan Hill, about what happens in the fire department and some of the important issues you need to understand. We'll be back in a moment.
You're out for an evening on the town. Finally a chance to relax and forget that you left your front door completely unlocked. Fortunately, you just installed a security system from Star Communications. With just your cell phone, you can check on your house, lock it down, light it up, and get back to relaxing.
You forgot to put Buster in his crate.
Unfortunately, we can't help with that. Security and automation from Star Communications. Call today to find out more.
If you run a business, you need sales. To get sales, you need customers. To get customers, you need exposure. Let our team of experts craft and produce the perfect video ad to reach your intended audience while making the most of your advertising dollars. Call 1-800-706-6538 or visit starcom.net to contact our Star Communications production team and get your business moving to the next level.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. J.W. Simmons here, your host. The name of the show is We Should Know. We're coming to you on Star Communications TV, Channel 16, WCLN Radio. We're talking with the Fire Chief, City of Clinton, Jordan Hill. Jordan, I want to get back to our conversation about expectations. And when you look at retention, when you look at hiring folks, it's a paid department that you're head up the leadership in. The Clinton Fire Department has a stellar reputation in the community. People that, as you pointed out a while ago, pretty much dedicated to this area, but they are salaried. Tell us what you look for and what does the employability look like? Do we have people still willing to step up and do that? What are the credentials that you're kind of looking for when you're hiring people?
Okay. So yes, we have a lot of members that are still interested in the area to work for us. A lot of times it's members that are very close or live here in Sampson County. You'll still get some people that are from a county or two away, something like that, probably a 50, 60 mile area. However, we do need to make sure that, people can get here in a reasonable amount of time if they ever needed to be called back for any reason. They're also not going to have an overextended time to drive to and from work because we do work 24 hours. I don't want to make sure that somebody's up all day and If they need to rest before they go home, that's okay. But these guys are leaving work at 7 a.m., working till next morning. And, when they go home, if they're having to drive an hour, I don't want to make sure they're not going to get hurt on the way home, of course. Mm-hmm. But back to your big question there is, so our members here at Clinton Fire Department do have to be certified firefighter 1 and 2, have to have their hazmat. And then from there, we provide rescue services in our district and to the county. So that means that we're providing heavy rescue. We're going to pin ends and things of that nature for the wrecks, and we're being able to extricate people, cut people out of cars. We also do trench rescue and confined space rescue. So these are our couple weeks to month-long classes that people have to have outside of their fire classes. And for most people, if you went to to go get your fire classes, even in a community college academy where you're getting supported, whether you're being paid or volunteer, can take 6 to 9 months, 8 to 5, just to get these classes. And that's not including any kind of medical stuff like we talked about earlier. If you're looking at getting your EMT, that could be another couple of months on top of that. So you could take somebody who doesn't have anything and is very, very interested in coming into the fire service, volunteer world or paid. It could take me a year to get them trained. But we don't have a way of supporting somebody currently to have an academy or a paid academy like Raleigh or Fayetteville or some of these places, Wilmington, that can do that are not far from here. So what we have to do is when we have hiring processes, we look at members who have certifications or are near completing their certification, so then that way they could be on a candidate list to get hired. Those scores would be good for a certain amount of time, depending on our needs, depending on what the position holds. So then we have a hiring process of agility test, interviews, written exam, depending on what position it might have a tactical assessment. So then that way we can really fine tune the knowledge of the individual. And then in the interview, we can look at, how this individual is, what their demeanor is, what their kind of goals are, what they see themselves on a professional manner, to kind of see if their core values match our core values, and how they would be for the department. Obviously the first screening is going to be their resume and what they have there. So then that way we can bring them in and offer them a position. We do have a lot of members that have worked for the department for many years. I've got members 20 years of service or nearing 20 years of service. I've got some members that are 30 years of service. Some of those members are our part-time staff that help out as they can or at nights. Some of the members that are in the 20 or past that are some of our paid members. So we definitely have some tenure members, but we still, like anywhere else, we do have some recruitment and retention issues. As far as the recruitment is mainly looking at the credentials of the person and how that person is, what their ultimate background and demographic background. We're open employer to anybody, male, female. It doesn't matter on that aspect. We'll invite you to the process. The biggest thing is you've got to have your credentials to do our job. We've had a lot of interest, but the first thing that gets cut is if you have your certifications that we need of you. If you're nearing it, by all means you can put in. We'll review it. If you're going to complete your certifications in a timely manner of where we would possibly be able to offer you that position, that's something for us in the hiring group to look at. But we typically have a couple of processes a year because of either people looking to go to their other places or just trying to actually get a good group of amount of individuals in. It's just like anywhere. I've done processes or helped do processes at other places I've worked for. There could have been 10, 20, 40 people put in for it, and somebody's going to be sick. Somebody might not show up. By the time we host the process, somebody might have already had another job offer. So those are just the different things that you run into to where before you complete the process, your numbers are actually starting to dwindle. So that becomes a challenge. And then just trying to stay competitive to the market with other employers. That becomes a challenge in of itself too.
The processing piece is interesting in that you just clarified that the firefighter 1 and 2, that is a state level mandate by the Department of Insurance. Is that correct?
Well, there's different certifications that the fire department has to have or is going to want to see, and that resides on the chief officers, but it also resides on what services we provide. So far as looking at our rescue services that we provide, I have to have a certain amount of members that have those certifications and do all that continuing education on my roster to provide those services to the community. If I don't meet that, then I lose that. Then that means I cannot provide that until I regain those certifications, get my members trained. So that's the biggest thing. And we have to certify every year our rosters and show that everybody has that amount of training. Now, what that also looks at is every 5 years, we get our ISO inspection done. And currently, ours got lowered this past year with our staffing. That helps out everybody that lives in our area with their insurance for their homes or businesses. So it kind of is a full circle of people having what they need to have, continuing their training to continue what we can provide to the community. But as we raise that bar higher and keep moving forward in progression, we can provide not only good services to the community, but we can actually help lower some things for them and put some money back in their pocket like we did with the lowering of the insurance rating. That means that members that we're able to lower their rating from their area are going to see a reduction in their insurance costs for their home or businesses when it comes up for renewal. Some places it may be smaller because of a smaller variation, but some places it could be bigger. Even in a renter's insurance in some places doesn't cost that much a month. But however, even a renter could still see 10 to 20% lower rates. A regular residential person could see in the 20s to 30% lower per year. Commercial, it's very, very sporadic with commercial, depending on size, structure, location, what district you are in, things of that nature as far as the city or rural district and how much it lowered. It's kind of a case-by-case basis, so you really don't know without looking at your last year's statement to this year's statement with what we did at the fire department. And then we have 5 years before that gets done. So we have 5 years to look at what we did very well and then recommendations to continue that.
Do you apply for that recommendation, or it's like 5 years seems to be a long time, because it looks like to me you could correct some things in a year and say, well, look, we want to apply again, see if we could get another bump down, You can do that. You can apply for a re-inspection. However, it's on a 5-year rotation. Automatically
it's
every 5
generally
years.
with the state. That's what it automatically goes to. And I actually have a meeting very soon to look at what we did very well and look at recommendations from the state. That's just me coming in to the department, trying to evaluate everything that we do here and try to see where Clinton's done very well in its history, see the gaps that we need, and just try to help out, provide the best services that we can provide with what we've got.
When we come back from this break, I'd like to kind of get into, kind of segue, if we can, from that into maybe what expectations of the larger community is. Sometimes we all just look strictly at what the requirements are for the department, but how the community can help, what you need from the community, and those kinds of things I think is important. But the reality is also, before we walk away and just not talk about personnel, is that you just mentioned you have a lot of folks that's been there for quite some time. Just talk about the process. It just seems to me there's a process of aging out, that there's certain things folks just can't do anymore. I guess I'm an example of that, so I can talk about it. But you can look at it in that sense. I'll just kind of get you feel on where your department is age-wise and kind of go from there.
Okay. Thanks.
We'll take a break, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back in a moment. We're talking with the Fire Chief, City of Clinton, Jordan Hill, making some major positive things happen in Clinton. And we look forward to seeing you in just a few minutes. Call a friend. Stay tuned.
Star Communications strives to provide you with the best video services. That's why we invested in cutting-edge video equipment to bring you new features such as Cloud DVR, Restart TV, local video on demand, advanced parental controls, and higher quality reception. We hope you will love the new Star TV.
Honey, do we pay our bill?
What bill?
The Star Communications bill.
No worries, honey. With Star's paperless billing and automatic draft system, I get a notification sent right to my phone. There's no need to be bothered with those paper statements, and our bill is paid on time every month.
Well, that's easy and convenient.
It sure is, honey.
Honey,
Yes, dear.
the bake.
Oh, right.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know is on there. My name is J.W. Simmons. I'm your host each and every week. We come to you with a new show, talking to kind of a new perspective with a sometimes new guest, sometimes old guest, but basically addressing issues that you probably are faced with or could be faced with each and every day. We're talking with Jordan Hill, the fire chief here in the city of Clinton. New job for you in the city. You've been here a few months now, kind of got, should I say, settled, new home, and your family is settled in here. We went to break and we were talking a lot about personnel issues and those kinds of things. One of the things that strikes me is in all organizations, a lot of your huge, should I say, I'm going to introduce it like this, your huge bucket of wisdom continues to get older, and sometimes you have people 60 plus and those kinds of things. I realize they can continue to contribute. I understand that. How do you kind of measure the skill set and the ability to be able to do some of the things that requires agility and endurance that maybe somebody in their 60s and 70s is just not able to do? And I'm probably going to get challenged on that point by people that's in their 60s and 70s.
And I understand that. So most of our department, we have overall is still fairly young. We do have some members that are older that are looking to retire very soon, that are in more leadership roles, whether that be actually a captain or something of that nature. But like you said too, they might not be assigned an actual title or rank as a leadership, but they can provide some leadership to those other members, and they do that. So that's one of the things that we I've talked about earlier is we're always continuing learning, because pretty much if we don't learn something every day, we're kind of going down a road that we don't need to. We need to. There's always something that we can take away every day. You might not realize it, but you do. So for these members that we're putting new on the department, obviously they're new to us. They're going to have to learn things that we do for the city, things that the fire department does, things about the community. If they live here or not, they're still going to learn things that they may not thought they have known before they got here. With that, you talk about looking at succession planning. We do have a couple people that are nearing their retirement in the next couple of years, or even looking at 5 to 7 years out. Things of that nature. So, there's certain, we talked about earlier, certain classes that members have to have, or certain certifications that members have to have. So, entry level, they're going to have certain things. After they've been with the department for a year or two, they start looking at their next position ahead of them. So once they've gotten a good grasp of the department, they know their very position skills or skills that's needed for our job, they can start being mentored or follow some of the other people that are above them or around them to help gain knowledge as these members take other roles. We've had members move up recently to fire captain. We've got members looking at moving up to our engineers and people learning to try to drive their trucks, because at some point certain positions have to get filled as members leave or retire. And then also on our incident scenes, different positions have to be filled. So you need to know what to do for not only your job, but some of the jobs around you, in case that something changes and you have to take upon another role in an instant at a call. So that's kind of some of the things that we have to look at. A lot of times we could do some of that stuff in-house with just in-house training. Some of it's going to be more formalized, where we send people to a weekend fire school or to a local class or the local community college to get some of those things to help out moving forward for the department.
When we look at employability and these folks that we've talked about the entire gamut, one of the things we hadn't touched on is this idea of retention. You hire somebody, they've got the basics, they got firefighter 1 and 2, you might have EMT, and fortunate to find those folks. Number one, are you able to find them based on the salary levels here? Are you also able to retain them, or is the marketplace in fire service becoming very competitive?
I would say in recent years it's starting to become competitive, just trying to keep up with what we've been battling for everybody, no matter what your career field or job field is. Everything's kind of getting competitive. We're trying to keep up with inflation and times, also with what credentials that you're asking of people. As we ask people of certain credentials and things that they would have to renew, there's going to become some different kind of expectations from both sides of that. You know, we're going to ask them to go to certain classes to have things to move up, but with that, there's going to be a process. Only a certain amount of people would be able to hold certain positions, but yet as you move up with each position, you're going to get compensated for that. So, you know, that's that part of that rank structure. Part of that coming into the department for me to evaluate everything. So evaluate what we're doing, how we're doing it, how our rank structure is, making sure that we have the appropriate amount of people and supervisors to do our day-to-day operations, let alone our actual incident management and emergency management aspects of the fire department. But yes, it can be kind of tough being competitive with other areas. Generally, what we have seen here at City of Clinton is a lot of our members that work here at City of Clinton grew up here or near here or work not far from here. It's real nice to get paid $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 more at a bigger department of like City of Raleigh or Fayetteville or somewhere like that. How far do you have to drive? In a year's time, some people are looking at that. You know, those are going to be extra hours away from their family. Those are also going to be extra wear and tear on their vehicle, fuel cost right now, no matter if it's gas or diesel, whichever you drive. But then also we talked about earlier is, you know, how far do you have to drive? Is it 30 minutes? Is it an hour? So that means there's going to be some time where you not be able to help out around the house as much, taking kids to school, picking kids up. If you've got another job, a lot of our guys currently farm outside of work, chickens, hogs. So some guys can leave right from here, and in 15, 20 minutes, they're helping out around their house or around the farm. So that's another aspect that kind of keeps some people close, because they want to give back to not only where they can working for the department, but for their community because they live here. So part of our retention is some of our local members just wanting to do it more for a career than a volunteer aspect.
Well, in case there are folks listening out there, and let's hopefully they are, just thinking about maybe either transitioning from a volunteer service to a paid service, or if they're looking at maybe a job and they're hearing us from Duplin County, or they're watching this show from wherever they may be, is there a retirement plan? Is there insurance that's covered for the firefighters? Those kinds of things I discover people are getting more and more interested in. It's not just what you're making, but as you just pointed out, what's the benefit package?
Yeah, so the benefit package for most places is you have your firefighters pension fund, just like you would for the volunteer aspect or the paid aspect, which is you put 20 years of service in and you get firefighters pensions retirement at the end of your career. The city itself has a very similar one where you put 20 years of service for the fire department, then you're also going to get an added benefit there. But then you also have the state local government's retirement aspect of it too, where a certain percentage of your yearly salary goes into that. Now, after your 5 years investment, you're going to get something out of that once you retire and become of age to be able to get that retirement benefit to you. Then it goes into just like the rest of the local government aspect of that. You have to do those other milestones with your different matrix of your yearly salary to know what you're going to get once you finally retire. But you are provided your different benefit package with your medical. You do have options for adding on your dependents and family. So there is a lot of that's there. There is a tuition reimbursement for members that want to go to college. There's $1,000 a year that the city provides for that. And there's a handful of other different benefits that are on there. And they're currently posted on our city website. So it's not just the fire department, but you being a city employee, you can go to the city human resources aspect of our website and go through and look at the entire benefit package that's offered to us. We do have paid holidays. For admin staff, we get those days off. And then for the other members, they get holiday time there. In our hiring part, and you have your base pay, but there's actually a little bit of overtime that a member is going to get throughout the year that's not included in their base pay. So when you see your base pay, that is truly your base pay. That has not included some of the other benefits that's going to come to you throughout the year. So, and then of course we have our accrual rate for vacation and sick. If you've worked at another department that was into the state system, you would be able to transfer some of your sick leave here as long as everything is aligned right and being able to do that.
It sounds like this is something that if somebody's listening and maybe they've got they may be a senior citizen listening, but they might have a grandchild or parent may have a child that's in the fire service somewhere, and they're looking to kind of, as you pointed out a while ago, everybody don't want to live right in Raleigh. So this is an opportunity that you definitely would be willing to look at and maybe be advantageous for them to consider the fire department from Clinton. When we come back from this break, I'd like to kind of get your sense of what you would like the public to know that could help the fire department. Not so much in employment, but just doing certain things that could be beneficial to them as well as support the fire department as a whole. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a moment. We're talking with the Fire Chief, City of Clinton, and it's one of those conversations that is important to you, your friends, your neighbors. So call a friend and have them to tune in, and we'll be back in a moment. Stay tuned.
To get the most out of your electronic devices, you need a strong internet connection and a protected home Wi-Fi network. You need high-speed internet from Star. Star has the fastest, most affordable high-speed internet service available for all your devices. We have no long-term contracts or high-pressure sales. Our service speaks for itself, and switching is hassle-free. We take care of everything with free installation from a local company. High-speed internet from Star. Internet at the speed of light. Just because something may work doesn't mean it's right for your business. Let Star Communications' knowledgeable consultants help you customize a hosted voice system that's right for you. Our dedicated experts work with you to understand your business needs and guide you at every step, from choosing and installing services to ongoing maintenance and support. Contact Star today.
Eastern North Carolina is a beautiful place where we gladly choose to call home, and we strive to provide the best communications services. STAR is committed to improving communications to all our service areas because we want to improve the communities where we not only work, but also live. STAR Communications. We are neighbors serving neighbors.
Welcome back. The name of the show is We Should Know. My name is J.W. Simmons. I'm your host. I want to remind you can reach us via email at weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. Drop us a card or a note to Post Office Box 1482, Clinton, North Carolina. Or as many of you do, you will just simply see us in the community or talk to me or reach out to me or call me, and I'm more than happy to talk to you. Suggestions about upcoming shows, comments on shows we've had is always welcome. Today we're talking about fire service and the new fire chief, City of Clinton, Jordan Hill. Jordan, again, thank you for being with us. This last segment, I'd like to kind of get a community kind of aspect, a cumulative understanding, if you will, of kind of things that you feel like folks need to know about the fire department, and maybe some things that they can do that would actually help you and your folks in the department even do a better job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I appreciate that. So one of the biggest things that's been a big push in recent years is, community risk reduction. You kind of hear that. And a lot of it goes down to things that will help educate members of the community, whether that be the resident, business owner, industries, any aspect of the community, things that are going on. School systems, anything that you can think of. So with that, the city and other areas, we do, inspections, we do pre-plans. So we're at community events as much as we possibly can support. Try to have areas that we can talk to the people. Yes, we're there to show our trucks. We're there to help, kind of give some things fire prevention during October time frame. But yet we try to do it all year round. We do things with smoke detector installs or checking people's CO detectors also, things of that nature. We have programs that we work with the state for that. So we'll go out and to check people's detectors, making sure that they're up to date, because a lot of people don't realize that those detectors are only good for 10 years. Most of the time there's a date on the back of it. It might be in small letters, so it might be kind of hard to read, but if you can find it on there, it'll normally tell you when that detector is going to expire or when it was made. So generally we try to tell people that if you have a battery in yours, when you change your time on your clocks, change your batteries. So at least twice a year you should be looking at those. And it doesn't matter if it's a smoke detector or if it's a CO detector, because those should be changed just the same. They both styles normally last 10 years because of the components that are inside of there start to break down. And then from that is making sure that you have them in there. So if you have any gas appliances or garage or something like that, we want to see somebody have a CO detector, so then that way any unburned gases from the combustion there, from the CO, or any kind of leaks or something like, or from it burning, is going to create some carbon monoxide. Or from the gas leak, you'll have it built up in the house, or from a car running in the garage or potentially running in the garage, could have some of those fumes coming to the house. So that would help, alert you that you have that problem going on. Just as you would expect for your smoke detectors, there's looking at new recommendations and new codes and things of that nature. When houses are getting built, you would like to have a smoke detector in every bedroom or occupied room of your house where somebody could be sleeping, in your hallways. You wouldn't want one near the kitchen, because any kind of basic steam or cooking like that from boiling water could set it off. Just like you imagine being at a hotel you've probably been at before. You open up the shower, and if they got the head too close, it's going to set it off, and everybody's got to evacuate. Yes, they can be a nuisance to some people, and some people have taken them down or took the batteries out. Well, that's not good. They're there for a reason. They're there to save lives. So they can alert you to let you know that something has gone on in early time frame for you to get out and to call 911 to have a meeting place. And that's another thing, is try to have a meeting place with your family or your people that you work with. So part of your fire drill that you should be setting up. Do those regularly. Make sure that everybody knows where to go. And then another aspect of that is making sure that you kind of look into all of those and evaluate that if any changes need to be made to it. Making sure that people can get out. If you have a 2-story house, look at maybe if something you can't get out the first floor, do you need to have a rescue ladder somewhere? Most of those are kind of something that can be bought and thrown out a window to help you kind of get out. And that goes back into businesses. I mean, during normal business hours, your entries and exits should be able to be utilized. We understand there's security reasons, but at some point, if something happens inside that structure, you need to be able to get out. You look at historically, even in the state of North Carolina, going back and looking at what happened at Hamlet. There's things that were normal business hours, places where or doors were barred or locked. And many members died inside of that structure because of what happened inside of there as far as a fire. So there's a lot of things that people don't know have happened historically across the United States, across the world, or here locally inside of North Carolina, that some people just need to kind of keep in touch with, trying to reduce what can help them out or help us get to them. So making sure that your house is labeled appropriately, as far as with your street address, your numbers. A lot of places you try to look for make them look at having being reflective, or at least big numbers that can be seen from the street. Can we get our fire trucks to you? Do you have a very beautiful entryway with trees on your driveway, but you can only get your SUV down? We couldn't get our fire truck down. That's going to cause us an issue to make access or get our trucks close enough to you. We do have quite a bit of fire hose on our trucks, so we can combat that. However, for every minute that we're delayed, fire generally grows about twice its size. So, fire is growing exponentially as we're getting delayed to getting to you. So early response of you getting notified that, hey, there's a problem going on, whether that being alerted by your smoke detector or something that's delaying us, is ultimately going to hinder any kind of operations that's going on there. A lot of places are looking at residential sprinklers. Very, very good tool to put in. A lot of people, they don't like the cost. However, with your insurance breaks, normally what people are seeing nowadays in a residential structure, after about 5 to 7 years, it's paying for itself. If you look at the ticket price on a line item, yes, it's costly, but if you look at it per square footage, it's not much more on a good large house. So that's kind of where you look at some of the things that you can do for yourself or you can do to help us out get there. And then there's different things that we're actually looking at too and evaluating. We talked about some of the services we're providing. Is there things that we can get more certification and trainings and provide more things to the community, but with that comes equipment. So, there's different things that we're going to put in for budgetary or capital improvement projects to get equipment, to get units, to possibly get more personnel, and get more funding to help us out. So that way we can in turn provide better or higher quality services to the community and hope to mitigate things either quicker or safer for everybody, for not only the community, but for us too.
It's a quick question. I've got about a minute and a half here, but we could probably do a whole show on it. It's a big movement to have everybody driving electric vehicles by 2050. Some people say 2030. Is the fire department ready to deal with accidents and related fires that may occur with the electric vehicles?
We stay on top of it. There's a lot of different training and education that comes out. Tesla itself does a lot of different videos. But as you look at it, even looking at the hybrid vehicles from Toyota, Ford, Chevrolet, there's different books out there, manuals that tell us, and even things that the manufacturers are doing with little symbols that we are getting trained on to make sure we stay away from certain energized areas, things that we can do to cut people out of those cars, whether it's a fire in those vehicles. So that goes back to our monthly and yearly training that we're doing at the fire department, is trying to stay modernized with not only our tactics, but what is happening in the world and our community around us. So knowing what businesses are coming here, what industries we're having to battle, but what cars and what other aspects are not only here, but coming through here with our highways and different areas.
That's a critical piece, and a lot of folks, I think, have mentioned that to me, that it's like with electrical fires that, that before you spray water on something, you kind of may need to know that the power shut off to a transformer or something of that nature. And these cars are like basically transformers running up and down the road. Right.
So you have them, then you have the power stations, or the charging stations that go with them. So there's a lot of different things that we have to look at and evaluate too. And as much as we want to rush in there and look at the big picture, we can't get tunnel vision. We have to step back and look at the safety aspect of it too. You're absolutely right. Like you said, do we need to de-energize something? Is there added steps with what these new things that we're having to combat, that we're having to slow down and make sure we do first, or potentially poke holes in how we approach things to make sure that we're doing something safe, not only for us, for the community, but for the environment.
Well, I want to thank you for being here today, and I think it's safe to say that if somebody has a question, they can call the Clinton Fire Department. If you're not there, some of your folks could probably maybe answer some of these questions. If they need help with a fire extinguisher situation, or it's a smoke alarm or a COT detector, you may be able to help them with that if they can't really get one. So just have them give you a call, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. We're always here. There's always members at the fire department. If we're on a call, there's a way to leave us a message to try to get back to you. We're always a resource to anybody, and if anything, we'll try to help connect you to a resource for what you need.
Thank you for being with us, Chief. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for being with us today. We've been talking about fire service. Look forward to seeing you again. And in each and every week, we come to you with new information that hopefully will help you. And as we always say, may God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of We Should Know with host J.W. Simmons. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion regarding this or any episode, please send your emails to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. And remember to tune in every Tuesday at 2:30 for another informative episode of We Should Know.